Hello everyone, welcome to Powerline. I'm your host Skyknight, and today I'm bringing you a deck profile on my Touken Ranbu deck. Yep, the Sword Boys. So it took a little while for me to get this to you guys. I know you guys saw a deck being previewed on the channel, but that was really everything I collected from my sneak. And so now, after a couple weeks and a lot of time and not that much money being invested, to be honest, I was able to put together a deck that I can show you guys and be proud of. So without further ado, let the Sword Boys shine. Oh, and disclaimer, because I have to put this here, I'm going to butcher the names, not on purpose, because I just still have a hard time pronouncing these names, so feel free to leave a comment making fun of me and how I pronounce these names. So my starter is Kashuu Kiyomitsu, and I chose this guy because of his unflipping ability. I usually put him behind one of my rear guards because they don't really attack the Vanguard. Alright, let me rephrase that. He's behind one of the rear guards because I like the unflipping that this guy provides and the extra boost. I don't want to lose him because sometimes I'm really Calabash crazy with my deck, and so having that unflipper always be there is very, very nice. But I've actually been going back and forth between him and Kansen Kanesada. I like the ability to give two of my creatures 3k. Very beneficial. It helps push a little bit harder if I needed to, but sometimes I'm just a little too crazy with my Calabash, so I just go between the two of them. For my trigger lineup, it's kind of crazy. I run 8 critical triggers. Lies. I run 10 critical triggers. Why? Because I want this deck to be much more aggressive. I enjoy the aggression that this deck can put on. So 10 is the right number for me. The reason why I don't have any more of Shokudaikiri is because I just don't own anymore. They're a little bit harder to find around my areas, but I'm okay with it. It doesn't really hurt the deck or help it. It just adds the flair that this deck has. So with that said, of the 10, I'm running 4 heals. Why? Because I can. And 2 draw because it's there. I'm kind of thinking of 12 critical triggers because the way that I have this deck built, I can amass a lot of draws, so I don't think I really need it. So I'm going to do a bunch more playtesting in order to figure that part out. For my grade 1s, I run 4 perfect guards. So as you guys know, I only needed 1 more out of my sneak, so it was easy just to grab that 4th one. I run 3 stride enablers of Imanotsurugi. Yes, I think I got that right. His ability is actually really good, although I don't really put him on the rear guard. There's no real need to. His ability is nice though if I ever need to unflip, so I have options there, but I usually only use him for stride fodder. Lastly, hidden tech, Nikkari Aoe. So the 7k grade 1, his ability, I like having him in the deck. I think he's actually very helpful. But for this deck, not so much. And I know you're like, Skyknight, well, why do you have it to begin with if it's not so helpful? I'll tell you right, sometimes that I can do a really good grade 1, a really good grade 3 push with this card if I have to win a game. I've used it a couple times, but I may end up changing it because it doesn't really synergize with the deck, but I don't really have many other options. So I chose this guy because of his ability mostly. You'll find out later. It's the route that I went. So now I run 3 Horikawa Kunihiro. I can already see it in the comments or my friends telling me about this. I love his abilities. If you're noticing right now, the trend is the Seiken Hitsatsu ability. That's what I'm really going for. His ability, insane, an extra 4k for Counterblast 1 and a soul charge. So with the starter, going towards the late game, I'm going to need that extra soul for the soul blasting ability so I can unflip my damage and my damage on. So this guy is actually very helpful. I may put this guy up to 4 and the last guy down to 2. Alright, so my grade 2s, I run 4 12k attackers. This is pretty standard. I need the extra power. I want to be as aggressive as possible, so 4 of these guys seems bueno. I run this guy. Yeah, I run 4 of this guy. You know what, guys? I'm probably gonna butcher this name, so I think I'm gonna pass. But I'm just calling him Yasusada because I think I can get his last name right. Yeah. So I run him for his Seiken ability. Again, this is an ability-based deck, and so having him was actually really cool. I get the extra 3k, the extra 2k from the ability, and the Homaru ability, which I'm not really running a lot of in this deck, to discard a card to draw 2 cards when this guy hits. So the extra draw cards is actually really cool to have in this deck. And lastly, my grade 2s, Shishiou. So this card's actually really good. Just by attacking Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, I'm able to drop a card and gain 2. And he has that bottom ability, which is amazing. Even though he's a 7k grade 2, the way that my deck is built, it makes up for that. My whole deck makes up for it. This guy's really terrible attack. So the way that I have my grade 2s lines up is one of the grade 2s is just pure power, and the other 2 are pretty much for possible draws whenever I have 3 or more damage. So my grade 3, Jiroutachi. Now you guys are like, yo, Sky Knight, there's so many other grade 3s that are better. Why are you running this one? Because of his possibilities. Now, the second ability allows me to have 2 of my strides that are Taroutachi. I'll admit it. I have 2 of those that are. And so it makes it easier for me to stride knowing that information, or having this guy on point. But also, again, I told you that this was a Seiken deck, so the top ability makes him a 13k attacker, which paired with one of my grade 2s is phenomenal. Or excuse me, not grade 2s, paired with one of my grade 1s is phenomenal. So this guy, I just plus all around, whether he's on point or on rear guard. Uguisumaru. So this is my alternate grade 3. It's funny because when I play the deck in combat, like, I always have this guy in my hand, and I don't know why, but this one for my early game, if I'm unable to stride first, definitely a great backup. And it's sad I call this guy a backup, but it pretty much is what he is. You know, it's having the ability to give my Seiken 2k for my rear guards is really good. And as you saw, all of my cards have Seiken abilities, so having him is just amazing. And then the drive check to have the ability. So the deck is really focused around this guy, but I'm usually on this guy. So I don't know, it's just the way that my deck works. I don't really argue against it. It's, luck of the draw. So lastly, for my stride units, and this is where it gets all types of weird, but just bear with me. I run 4 Iwatooshi. Now, most people won't agree with this decision. However, I do like clearing the front row whenever I have a chance to do it. This deck doesn't really attack the opponent's rear guards like Narukami or any other clans that do retire. So for me to clear the front row and make my opponent expend more cards to replace them, I'm okay with. I get 2 front row field clears out of this card, and that to me is okay. That to me is absolutely okay. I run 2 Taroutachis. Again, with Jiro on board, it's easier for me to stride into him. And again, I told you this is a Seiken deck. So, again, having him on board helps, a lot of my grade 2s, especially Shishiou. So having him is great if I can't field clear with Iwatooshi. And lastly, 2 generation rares. Mikazuki. No, his ability is fantastic, depending on how many are unflipped in my generation zone. And it depends on when I decide to go into him, really. I don't really have a proper time to do so, but he definitely can help catch up the game if I needed to, steal the game if he does, and, clear my opponent's front row. But I don't need 3 of him, because I'm usually flipping over a Taro, if anything. And that, guys, is my Touken Ranbu deck, really. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave it in the comment section below. If you want a deck for Kaiser or myself to profile, let us know in the comment section below. I think the deck is pretty strong, to be honest. There are a bunch of different types of combos and a bunch of different types of builds that you can build with this deck, or this clan, I should say. You really just have to find out for yourself. I think Kaiser and I will be doing a stream talking about this and maybe set the Aquaforce box soon. So you guys enjoy and be well.